Yesterday on the program, we talked about the Supreme Court ruling on Chrysler and the Fiat deal. We are witnessing the death of the Constitution and capitalism. I truly believe that. I know people are going to say, oh, you're just a fearmonger, whatever. Fine. Don't believe me? Great. Live in your lollipop world. I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. Lori Roman, she is a former GM manager, the founder of RegularFolksUnited.com. David Buckner is a friend of ours, a professor of economics at Columbia University. Judge Andrew Napolitano is here. He is our senior judicial analyst. Lori, let me start with you. You, 4 generations, your family has been with GM. How are you feeling?
Devastated. It's a sad day for America. It's a sad day for my hometown, Flint, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And it's just devastating to see that everything has come to this point. The lack of competitiveness that I saw when I was at General Motors was really from 3 things that I saw: an overly powerful union, government regulations that made us very difficult for us to be competitive against foreign car dealerships, and the third thing was wimpy management that didn't stand up to the union demands. And that's what I experienced. And the question is, was anyone willing to take a stand to let us be competitive? And when you look at even this last deal, when the GM has a deal with the UAW now, that the UAW is bragging that they didn't have to give up any base pay, they didn't have to give up health care, and they didn't have to give up pension in this latest round with the government. And so, unfortunately, the answer still is no one's doing anything to make it competitive. And so it's a sad day. It's just, it's devastating.
You know what, and Judge, let me bring you in here, because you want to talk about wimpy management. I think General Motors and the Obama administration have just put in the biggest government stooge ever to run this company.
Well, he has a history of that. When Mr. Whitaker was the president of General Motors, and the Bush administration came...
AT&T.
Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah. AT&T. He's the president of General Motors now. When he was the head of AT&T, and the Bush administration came to him and said, we have to spy without warrants on your customers, and the AT&T legal department said you can't do it, he did it anyway because the Bush administration asked him to and promised him immunity. When they did the same thing to Quest, and Quest refused to do it, they indicted Joe Naccio for insider trading, who was the head of Quest. We all know what happened to him. So this, Mr. Whitaker, will fold to the transportation czars, both of them. There may be more than 2 in the Obama administration, just the way he folded on civil liberties to the Bush Justice Department.
David, how concerned are you? I cannot find the way out of the fascism box if this continues to go.
This is patronage. In the purest form, go back to the muckrakers in a time where government and all of their friends were the cronies. We're seeing much of that again, which compromises the markets. The markets will not behave favorably when the government owns the business, referees the business,
they'll all say
subsidizes it.
They'll all say the stock market is 87. There are people talking about it's going to be back up at 12.
But the stock market is moving between now and next Tuesday, and they say, fine, if you're going to wipe off all that debt and you're going to let GM owners take over their neighbors without any compensation for those cars that are being transferred across the street, not even buying them, not even buying their good name and their goodwill, that takes away business completely. You hear today from an owner of a GM dealership, and he said, we tried to put in bids for the people across the street 3 times, and they said it was too low. Guess what? We were selected. They weren't. We get all their cars. What a great deal.
And when the government takes away business, it is a direct violation of the Constitution.
How, Judge, how is it? Well, first, let me set it up with this. Lori, can you explain to people, and I don't think this is really connected, you have a dealership for 50 years in your family. GM calls you because for whatever reason they didn't select you as keeping the dealership. You have $2, $4, $10 million worth of inventory of cars. They tell you, if you don't sign this gag order, if you don't do these things, you are stuck with the cars. They'll have no warranty on those cars, and you have to sell them right away. So they're going to lose all of their money. And more importantly, this family has put in for generations their good name and built, and now all they have is an empty building. Is that right?
What regular folks out there should be thinking about is that learn this lesson from the auto industry. It's not just the auto industry. What we're seeing is a complete collapse of our free enterprise system if we continue on this path. This has lessons for everything. It's not just about what's happening in the auto industry. There might be some people that are sitting back and saying, well, that's just the auto industry. But once you change the rules of the game as you go along, once elitists start making all the rules as they go along, and once bureaucrats start changing and stomping all over the rule of law and the Constitution, you have so much uncertainty in the marketplace that it cannot exist as we know it. I mean, society as we know it will not exist if we continue down this path.
This is the end?
I agree that it's no longer about contracts and agreements. It's about contacts and relationships.
So, but,
if you know somebody in the government,
that
is the end of the free market as we know it right now. We're moving down a path right now. If this is nationalization, this is an influenza virus, if you will, that has spread much faster than anybody in the free market, as free market economists would say, had ever anticipated.
Judge, I want you to, I'm going to read these, and then you give people hope. Give them a way out. These are from the 912 message boards, the 912project.com. My wife said, after watching car dealers speak on the news this morning, we are under attack by our own government. Letter 2. I'm trying to figure out if I'm stuck in the book Atlas Shrugged or the Left Behind series. But either way, I fear for my country. And this one comes in from Old Marine about 8 hours ago. I'm coming to the conclusion that the American people are 1, too scared, 2, can't be bothered, or 3, like every other war, and we are at war to save our country, let somebody else fight it for me while I pee and moan about, that we have to do something. Well, I know I don't fall into any of these classes. I'll continue my snail mails and do what I can while others enjoy their lives and continue to complain. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for good people of conscience to remain silent.
I think they all express a fear of what's happening to the Constitution. And the worst thing about the Supreme Court's decision last night not to take the Chrysler appeal is the Obama administration is unleashed.
Okay, so what do they do, Judge? What do people do?
They have to find the right plaintiff and sue, and they have to vote enough people out of office and people into office who respect the Constitution.
2 years, David? At this rate?
At this speed, we're 6 months from now. If they're going, you've got 4 industries that have been cannibalized in the last 5 months. At this speed, it's going to change the entire face of market. And even Putin is telling us, don't go down this path. We've been there.
Then we have to get back to that show that we did with the live audience, the 912 show, about state legislatures threatening to amend the Constitution.
All right. On tomorrow's program, we're going to continue this conversation. And I want to ask a couple of questions. I got to know, what has happened to the American psyche where... Are we just so beat up? Why are we not in the streets? Why are we not in the streets? We've got the nut jobs in the streets instead of the regular people. Is it, and this is very well could be it, you're tired and you don't think you make a difference. That's bullcrap, and don't buy it from anybody. I know you're tired. I'm tired. We're all tired, but there is a time that you got to stand up, and that time is here, gang. It is here. We're going to cover that tomorrow and hopefully find some solutions for you as well.